Hello everyone, welcome back to the Play On Podcast Football Edition. In this part we're having a look at the action which took place in the Connacht Football Championship, the one match between Mayo and Sligo. So one of the heavyweights gets their championship off to a successful start. They battered Sligo, 3 goals and 23 points to 12 points. No Cillian O'Connor for Mayo in this game of course, but their big men stood up. Aidan O'Shea was fantastic, he scored 2 goals and 2 points. Darren McHale looked very promising as well at centre-half forward. He made it into the team of the week. And yeah, just a good performance by Mayo, but the competition does need to be taken into consideration. A very poor, Sligo team compared to what they have been over the last 15 years. 2010, they were fancied as, Connacht winners. 2007, they won the Connacht Championship. I know that is a long time ago, but Sligo and Leitrim now, in my mind, the Connacht Championship to them is a bit like what the Leinster Championship is to Wicklow, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think you can take a whole lot from this game. I think that's the problem is that Connacht has become very much a 3-horse race kind of, and until those teams kind of face each other, it's very hard to make any kind of definite conclusions about where teams are at, I suppose. Look, Mayo did everything that was required of them. They comprehensively won. They never looked in any bother whatsoever. But, I suppose I wouldn't be getting carried away, though, if I was a Mayo fan right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think that they definitely did show some promising signs. Obviously, Darren McHale looked very promising. Aidan O'Shea looked hungry as well. He had a great turnover to set up a Tommy Conroy point. Tommy Conroy looks good as well. He does have that killer instinct in him that, spots when there's a goal chance on, he always goes for it. But, Sligo, just on the other hand, they just couldn't seem to compete. The one thing that I do find interesting about this Mayo team is, the fact that they are sticking with what they tried to do last year. The high press that they had, the very, very high press, the very attacking methods, definitely worked for one of their goals in the turn Sligo over, and Aidan O'Shea punished them. The direct running was a feature again for Aidan O'Shea's second goal. That came from powerful running. But as well as that, another kind of experiment that James Horn seemed to do was Conor Loftus at midfield. Now, personally, I could come to regret this. I don't like Conor Loftus at midfield. Personally, I think it doesn't work against, when they come up against Dublin or Kerry. I think they'll just get overpowered in midfield with sheer athleticism, which Loftus can't really match up in my mind to the athletes that Dublin and Kerry will have in midfield. But Horan seems to put him in midfield because of his passing, because of his long-range shooting. But I don't know. For me, it didn't work last year when they played against Dublin, and I don't see why that would change this year.
Yeah, it was a weird one. I think a lot of people were kind of surprised when he went to midfield. That didn't really kind of seem to be your kind of traditional midfield. But look, it certainly worked at the weekend. But I think you're right though. It didn't last year. It wasn't probably didn't appear to be the answer against Dublin anyway. So it is kind of curious to see him sticking with it. And I suppose a lot of kind of other new emerging players from Mayo too to go around them as well. And I think they'll be relatively happy with that. And the more kind of I suppose with his presence in midfield, it does allow Aidan O'Shea to play full forward, which they've kind of toyed with the last while and appears to work very, very well at the weekend. So definite positives to it. And then still the questions I suppose still do remain about whether it's probably enough to compete with Dublin's or Kerry's kind of star-studded midfield though.
Yeah, definitely. And that's my question is, are Mayo strong enough to play Aidan O'Shea full forward? Are they strong enough in the midfield to play Aidan O'Shea full forward?
Yeah, I suppose that's the problem for them, is that, and that's why I suppose that there's been so much debate about his positioning. In an ideal world, they would have him in full forward every single day, but yeah, they just can't afford to, and that's why he has to drop out around the midfield as a third midfielder sometimes as well. So yeah, I think that's probably what we're going to see later on in the year as well, when they start playing the likes of the top teams, kind of even like a Galway in a Connacht final perhaps. You might see that O'Shea will probably start dropping out around the middle, and he'll do the usual role that is kind of expected of him, having been named full forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think that wherever he plays, is a key decision for Mayo, because especially without Cillian O'Connor now, he did seem to bring, the other Mayo players with him in this game, like a real captain's role that he took up. And that's going to be vital, especially going in against a Galway side, or Roscommon side, who will know that they don't have Cillian O'Connor and they might be a little bit more vulnerable. So Aidan O'Shea is really going to have to step up for Mayo this year without O'Connor being there. But personally, I still think Loftus, if you want to have him around the middle doing this role, I think he has to be wing forward. Then I think that Dermot O'Connor and Matthew Ruan in midfield and Loftus at wing forward, if you want to persist with this passing and shooting that he does, he can do that from the half forward line. And yet he doesn't have to, be marking players like David Moran or Brian Fenton.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's spot on. I think that's kind of exactly what they were trying to get. But this is the kind of question about Shay, is like how to get the best out of him. There's been questions about where they have over the last few years. So there's been games when he's kind of delivered kind of tallies and Connacht, and then when it gets later in the year, it's kind of quieter in the big kind of Croke Park games. So yeah, look, I suppose that's the problem with kind of analysing it from this game, is that he probably won't be coming up against a worse defence than that Sligo when he played at the weekend. So I suppose, yeah, look, we'll just have to keep watching O'Shea and see what the kind of the future kind of plans are involving him. So yeah, look, a good performance from him in the weekend, and he's probably a worthy man, the match winner.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, as you said, I think it's an unfair stigma that gets attached to him that, he doesn't do it in Croke Park from the crowd. I've never seen a player, be under as much, targeting, if you like, by, an opposition that when Dublin have played against Mayo, particularly 2015 was the year that jumped out to me. Every time Aidan O'Shea got the ball, there seemed to be 7 Dublin defenders around him. And, don't get me wrong, he is an outstanding footballer. He's a marvellous athlete. But he isn't, your Colin Coopers or the elite of the elite. So when you put 7 guys, marking him every time he touches the ball, yeah, of course he can't drive through them, And I think Mayo need to not rely on him as much when they get to those games, because they know that the likes of a Dublin are going to be, watching him closely.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, I would just say though that I suppose that for if you look kind of at Mayo and the latter kind of stages, and you look kind of when they've really kind of hoped that they can play O'Shea in full forward and that he'd step up with the big tallies, he kind of hasn't managed to be able to do it in kind of the huge games, I suppose. So like that's the problem when you're looking at kind of when he's scoring 2-2 at the weekend. Like, is there going to be a championship game where at the latter stages where he's going to score 2-2, and that's kind of the issue, I suppose, in there. And that's maybe why he's kind of going to be out around midfield as well. So I think that is the big question around O'Shea. And if they can get him firing and putting up those tallies in the latter stage of championship in full forward, then like they have a huge chance.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, guys, so that is our review of the Mayo versus Sligo game, which was the only action which took place from the Connacht Football Championship. It came so close to nailing all the football predictions. The Wicklow-Wexford game is what let me down. I predicted Wicklow would win. Wexford got the win, but we did okay in the other predictions, Luke. We got them all correct, including this one, but I don't think it takes much of a genius to realise that Mayo going for an All-Ireland, they're going to beat a Division 4 team. But that is our coverage of all the football action which happened over the weekend. Make sure that you tune in to our hurling edition of the Play On podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. Luke, thanks for coming on.
No worries.
Okay, guys, so we hope you enjoyed listening, and take care.